Long time ago, I was running for Congress in Arizona. I lost twice, but I ran for Congress in Arizona twice. I was a Republican nominee, so I won the primary and then lost the general election. And Pete Sessions, I actually think he's still around, but Pete Sessions is one of those salty old GOPers in the House back then. He was already in Congress, and he was going to fly out there and help me try to raise some money and campaign and win my congressional race. And when I sat down with Pete, he was asking how's the race going, whatnot. And he said to me, Jesse, just make sure you're keeping the big deal the big deal. And I said, all right, I will, but I don't know exactly, what do you mean? What are you talking about? So I've been able to clarify, and here's what it means. It's easy in life, whether you're running for Congress, whether you're just living your normal life, husband, father, kid, whatever, employee, it's easy to get distracted by the small stuff. Especially today when there are distractions everywhere, aren't there? And I'm not doing the back in my day thing, I'm really not, but there are distractions everywhere. Shoot, they're in our hands at all times. Always a distraction. I was talking to my son the other day, one of the times where we let him have his phone, I had a 5-minute conversation with him. He didn't hear a daggone word. He was on his phone. I took it away again. We have to keep the big deal the big deal. Well, the big deal is the United States of America for you and me. It is a big deal because, not just because we love the country and we're patriots, it's a big deal because the United States of America is the country in which we live. I know that's a dumbed down point, just stay with me. And we need the country where we live, where my sons live, where hopefully the grandsons I have one day, or granddaughters, you know what I'm talking about, where they will live and their kids will live and their kids will live. We need the United States of America to stay together and stay prosperous and stay free, don't we? That's what we need. So what are the big deals that are going to end the United States of America? Let me ask you something. What you've talked about today with friends, family, political people, are they things that are critical for the United States of America? Or are they distractions? Even if they're, important, are they distractions? We spend a lot of time on distractions. There are two things that will end the United States of America. We are the most blessed by God country in the history of the world. I really believe that, not just because of our freedoms, our natural resources, a big ocean on each side. We're even geographically blessed. It's crazy how blessed we are. There are only two things that can sink a country with a $21 trillion economy: illegal immigration and debt. Illegal immigration and debt. The boat taking on water is the only thing that can bring this boat down. And this is not something I've just come to recently. I realize people are just now starting to wake up and see that we're going to pay $1.7 trillion in debt interest alone next year, and they're doing the math, and the numbers aren't adding up. I'm not Johnny-come-lately to this. I've been screaming about it for ages. I really lost my mind during COVID when I watched what was happening then. The GOP lined up for the last 4 years, and voted yes, and voted yes, and voted yes, and voted yes on multiple massive spending bills. Truth is, no one cares. And no one's going to care until the whole house of cards come crashing down. And everyone's going to look around and they're going to say, well, how'd this happen? How'd this happen? Now, well, here's the hard truth of it. Talk about making you uncomfortable. Here's the hard truth of it. When that happens, you and I will both have to go look in the mirror and say, that's on me. I never demanded better. So I never got better. You get what you get. Don't throw a fit. Man, I had so much hair back then. Anyway, look, our debt situation, just because of entitlements alone, set aside foreign aid and stuff like that, just entitlements alone, pre-COVID, our debt situation was going to doom us, because it grows exponentially. The more people are retiring, the more they're taking from it, that we're not getting the production into it that we were taking from it. It was always going to, it was that, I'll put it to you this way. Actually, it's the best way I can describe it. The entitlement situation in this country alone It was the car at the top of the hill facing down the road, and there was a cliff at the end of the road. And what happened was we didn't, start the car, but we threw it in neutral. And the car was already rolling. It was already heading down the cliff. And what we needed at the time, and this is for years, this is, probably predates you, predates me, but what we needed is we needed an adult to recognize it and have the courage to hop in the moving car, press the brake, put it in park, throw on the emergency brake, or even better, get in the car, start it, put it in reverse, and get it back up to the top of the hill. Let's get away from that cliff. That's what we needed. That's what we've needed forever. We've never had even one adult even attempt to do so. Not in the Democrat Party and not in the Republican Party. All they've ever done, Republican presidents, Democrat senators, Republican senators, it doesn't matter who they are, all they've done is spend and spend and spend and spend and spend. So each and every person, instead of hopping in the car to throw it in reverse and back it up, every person has actually hopped in the car, started the car, and then gassed it. Faster and faster and faster, more spending. And then COVID comes. This was pre-COVID. And then COVID comes, and we take everything that has us jetting towards that cliff, and we just punch the gas even more. It's like we gave us a juice of nitrous, heading right for it now. Republicans, more stimmy money, shut down the economy, another stimulus check, here's another trillion here, here's another trillion there. And this shows you how insane these people are in D.C. After all that insane COVID spending, where we're just hammering the gas and printing money and blowing it out of the water. Well, nobody slowed down. They didn't slow down. COVID's long gone. If it ever really was here that bad. COVID's long gone. All the lockdown stuff, long gone. Yet the deficits, the debt, it's all going up at pretty much the same pace. So we got in during COVID and hammered the car with nitrous. And once COVID left, we still haven't stopped. And now the cliff is coming. What I said about the interest on the debt next year should be staggering to every person watching. So allow me to explain it in this way. Very quickly, as in next year, the interest on the debt is probably going to be the largest item in the budget. And very shortly after that, probably the next year, it will be by far the largest item in the budget. And very, very shortly after that, you're not going to be able to make the interest payments. Now, let me ask you something, just so we can lay all this out here so we're all on the same page. If you take out a home loan, you get a mortgage, buy a home, and let's say it's an interest-only loan. Okay, I know. Didn't have enough money to pay on the principal. I get it. I've had one myself. What happens when you stop paying your payments? If, let's say, you don't have the money, what happens? Yeah. As a nation, here's how it works. When we start missing interest payments, other nations around the world will stop buying our debt. That will take away our ability to spend more than we make. Everything stops like that. And that is maybe the best case scenario, because the worst case scenario is probably the more likely one. Warren Buffett actually talks about it here. I'll show you in a second. The more likely scenario is this. All these dirtballs in DC, Republican and Democrat, when that debt crisis gets here, they're going to look out at the population of this country like hungry wolves look at a wounded baby deer crawling across the prairie, and they're going to come for you, and they're going to come for me. And when I say come for us, I'm talking about our money. They're going to print us into death, and they're going to tax us into death, and it is coming. Don't just take it from this oracle. Listen to the Oracle of Omaha, Warren Buffett.
I would say with the present fiscal policies, I think that something has to give, and I think that higher taxes are quite likely. They may decide that someday they don't want the fiscal deficit to be this large because that has some important consequences, and they may not want to decrease spending a lot, and they may decide they'll take a larger percentage of what we earn, and we'll pay it.
How could we get here? That's really the question, isn't it? How could we take all these blessings from God, this prosperous nation, all this freedom, all this stuff? How could we be so careless and irresponsible with it that now here we are? I mean, we're deadbeats. We've buried ourselves financially so badly. We're deadbeats? Look, I'm sorry to put it that way. That hurts to say about, me. I'm an American citizen, the country I love. But that uncle you have who just got his 4th car repoed, and he's always borrowing money from somebody, and he's maxed out 3 credit cards, and he's living on the street right now, what do you call him? You call him a deadbeat because he took any blessing, every blessing he ever had, and he squandered it all, and he borrowed endless amounts of money. He just ruined us. And look, part of this is the morons we have running this country. And they're morons, and most Americans don't actually know they're morons. It's not that you can't get people to criticize the government or politicians. That's always easy. This guy's an idiot and that guy sucks. That's easy. But what people don't really grasp, most Americans, you will, but the normies out there, what they won't grasp is this, that these highly educated people, Harvard and Yale and all these things, they're actually, because the education system is broken and communist and awful, our most educated people are actually the dumbest people on the planet. And these are the people who run the monetary system.
The U.S. government can't go bankrupt because we can print our own money.
Why does the government even borrow?
Well, again, some of this stuff gets, some of the language that some of the language and concepts are just confusing. I mean, the government definitely prints money, and it definitely lends that money, which is why the government definitely prints money, and then it lends that money by selling bonds. Is that what they do? They sell bonds. Yeah, they sell bonds, right? Because they sell bonds and people buy the bonds and lend them the money. Yeah, so a lot of times, at least to my ear with MMT, the language and the concepts can be kind of unnecessarily confusing, but there is no question that the government prints money and then it uses that money to, yeah, I guess I can't really talk. I don't get it. I don't know what they're talking about. Like, because it's like the government clearly prints money. It does it all the time, and it clearly borrows. Otherwise, we wouldn't be having this debt and deficit conversation. So I don't think there's anything confusing there.
What else do I have to say? These are the people who run the financial system, and now our elites, the ones who should be trying to save us. If they had any sense of honor or duty or obligation, and you're the Treasury Secretary, the head of the Fed, President, Senate, you should be meeting right now to try to save America, try to save our way of life, to make hard decisions, hard cuts. This has to go, this has to go. My goodness, we have to get rid of this. That's what they should be doing. But now, when we need them the most, they've just become, all of them, become mouthpieces for the regime, trying to convince everyone that the boat isn't actually sinking. Janet Yellen, she's basically given up at this point in time. Here she is out here now with everyone suffering, grocery prices up 40%, and the Treasury Secretary is now just out there telling you how great everything is.
I think we've got a good, strong economy. We've got very strong domestic demand. Consumers are holding up. Some low-income consumers are perhaps exhausting their buffers of saving that they built up during the pandemic. We're seeing a little bit more distress at the household level there. But generally, households are in very good financial shape. Our financial system is generally quite strong.
Yeah. Anyway, take care of yourself, all right? And now's the time to cut some costs.